Season of Discovery Phase 1 is nearing its end, and I am here to break down each of the 5 healers in a raid environment. We'll take a look at how they handle single target and AoE healing, their mana efficiency, kits, and runes. We won't be referencing logs or parses in this video, instead relying on our personal experience. I've leveled each of these healers to 25 and cleared 7 out of 7 bosses in the current raid, Black Fathom Deeps. This list is of course subjective, and we welcome any and all opinions in the comments. Let's get started. Druids are known for healing over time and versatility, and with the runes available in Phase 1, Blizzard amplified both. With an array of heals to choose from and the option to focus more on dealing damage, they require the most decision making of all of the traditional healers, A tier. In single target situations, Rejuvenation and Healing Touch will be your go-to abilities. While Regrowth heals the most of any ability, avoid the temptation of using it too often, as Healing Touch requires less mana, is only half a second slower to cast, and heals for almost as much. Regrowth can also lead to a lot of overhealing, since your target may not get the full value of the hot effect. For healing area damage, Druids get a dominant rune in Wild Growth. It's mana intensive, but heals 5 people for quite a bit over a short duration. You can also spot heal the raid with Rejuvenation as needed. If you're efficiently healing and have the 15% mana regen talent, mana shouldn't be much of an issue. With the Fury of Stormrage rune, the mana cost of Wrath is reduced to 0, giving you a great opportunity to deal moderate damage when healing isn't needed. Since it's free to cast, it doesn't interrupt the 5-second mana rule, so it can eliminate standing around while waiting for mana. Take 5 talents and improved Wrath if you go with this playstyle. In the leg slot, Star Surge is a strong instant cast with a negligible mana cost, but be mindful of the 5-second rule, as unlike Wrath, Star Surge will interrupt it. If you prefer to stick to healing, the Living Seed rune is a decent alternative, but it won't proc very often. Life Bloom is a classic but currently underwhelming hot that's prone to overhealing at the end of its duration. The rest of the Druid kit features great utility like the Fairy Fire armor debuff, a combat resurrection, Mark of the Wild, thorns, as well as poison and curse removal. While Paladins are highly regarded healers in Classic, the level 25 cap hurts them more than any of the other healers in Season of Discovery. They have limited abilities to heal with, miss out on key talents deeper in the Holy Tree, and the Phase 1 Paladin runes seem to focus more on Ret and Prot than they do Holy. B tier. For single target, Paladins have 2 options: Flash of Light, a quick, mana-efficient heal that heals for a moderate amount, and Holy Light, a slower cast that heals for more. Keep in mind that if it will take 3 or more Flash of Lights to adequately heal someone, it makes more sense to use Holy Light instead. Once every 60 minutes, or 40 if talented, you have Lay on Hands in case of an absolute emergency. Save this for when you're already low on mana, as it uses any remaining mana you have to cast it. Paladins are limited in fights where multiple people are taking damage, so you'll want to prioritize your healing targets for each fight. Beacon of Light is a 1-minute buff that can be placed on an ally, and any heal you cast on a different ally will automatically replicate onto the beacon. Not exactly AoE, but it does heal more than one target at once. Spot healing with Flash of Light works fine here if you have the mana to spare. Divine Storm can help with AoE and spice up your healing rotation, but it requires you to be in melee range and doesn't have a ton of healing output. Mana can be an issue for Paladins, especially if you're spamming your heals. Blessing of Wisdom helps here, but we miss out on Illumination, a key talent in the Holy Tree that returns your mana when you cast a critical heal. Consider downranking Holy Light if you're running into too many issues. Outside of Beacon of Light, healing runes simply weren't a priority for Blizzard to implement in Phase 1 for Paladins. Divine Sacrifice is costly to acquire, but does provide a nice party-wide reduction to damage taken. Horde of Lordaeron is a nice buff, but the cooldown is frustratingly short, and if you're not in the same raid group as classes that benefit from it, it's useless. The rest of your kit provides solid value. Cleanse removes disease and poison, Blessing of Might and Wisdom are powerful buffs for your team, and Blessing of Freedom can remove freezes and shadowy chains in BFD. Blessing of Protection can prevent someone from dying from time to time, and Divine Protection makes you invincible for 8 seconds on a 5-minute cooldown, which can be clutch if you're taking heavy damage and need time to heal others. Priests were already considered to be the best healers in Classic, and in Season of Discovery, they're even better. They set the bar for all other healers in Phase 1. S tier. For single target, Penance is the best heal in the game. healing for a ton of health in 3 quick bursts with an extremely low mana cost on a 12-second cooldown. Heal is a mana-efficient, slow, and heavy heal, while Flash Heal is a quick cast, but you won't find yourself needing to use it very often. You can keep Renew up on tanks, and Bubble is another instant cast that can be used with no consequences if running the Strength of Soul rune. If you're a human or dwarf and find yourself facing death, you have Desperate Prayer, a 0 mana instant cast that heals yourself for about 40% of your health on a 10-minute cooldown. For fights where multiple people are taking damage, priests have several tools at their disposal as well. Prayer of Mending is another low mana instant cast that jumps between players and heals them when damaged. We also have Circle of Healing, a potent but more mana intensive instant cast that heals 5 people. It's the same rune slot as Penance though, so you'll need to be selective on when to use it. Mana-wise, since Penance and Prayer of Mending have such low mana costs, we rarely need to use mana potions throughout a fight. The Discipline tree features 2 mana-focused talents. Meditation, which allows for 15% of your mana to regenerate while casting, and Inner Focus, a 3-minute cooldown that reduces the mana cost of your next heal by 100% and increases its critical effect chance by 25%. Healing with this ability does not interrupt the 5-second rule, so your mana will keep regenerating through its use. Other runes worth mentioning are Homunculi in the leg slot, which places 3 impactful debuffs on the enemy target, and Power Word Barrier, which places a holy field on the ground, reducing damage taken by 25% and preventing spellcast interruption. Other highlights of the Priest kit include a significant stamina buff and Power Word Fortitude, and they are the only healer in Phase 1 that can dispel magic from a friendly target, useful for fear, freezes, and certain raid debuffs. No Season of Discovery healer list would be complete without mages. Like disciplined priests in retail, mages primarily heal through dealing damage. It's more complex than any other healer, and can be more rewarding if you're looking for a challenge or like competing on damage meters. A tier. Single target and AoE healing are both centered around Temporal Beacon, a buff placed on allies via the Regeneration and Mass Regeneration runes. Both are channeled healing abilities, but the buff is applied immediately. Regeneration has no cooldown, heals 1 target, and applies Temporal Beacon to that target for 30 seconds. Mass Regeneration has a 6-second cooldown, heals 5 targets, but applies Temporal Beacon for only 15 seconds. Once the buff is applied, your focus switches to dealing damage. Arcane Blast, Explosion, and Missiles all convert the damage they do into healing on your allies with Temporal Beacon. Living Flame is another potent damage ability that converts to healing, but that shares the same rune slot as Mass Regeneration, so you'll have to decide which you prefer. You can also take Rewind Time, which instantly heals your buffed allies for all damage they've taken over the last 5 seconds. These abilities can be tricky to juggle and maintain, but it gets easier with practice. The rest of your kit includes iconic mage abilities like Arcane Intellect and Evocation, a healer's dream ability that restores your entire mana bar once every 8 minutes. Much like their Alliance counterpart the Paladin, Shaman have 2 main heals at their disposal, but unlike Paladins, Blizzard gave healing Shamans 5 different healing runes to choose from. Still, B tier. Single target healing is very straightforward with Shaman. Cast Healing Wave when you have time to cast it, and only cast Lesser Healing Wave when you don't. AoE gets a little more interesting with Healing Stream Totem and Healing Rain, which is casted on a specific ally and heals their raid group, unlike in retail where you place it somewhere on the ground and it heals allies nearby. We don't have access to our mana totems in Phase 1, so to compensate for this, Blizzard gave Shamans 2 runes that impact mana regen. Shamanistic Rage, a raid-wide ability that can be used once a minute, and Water Shield, which grants 1% mana per 5 seconds and restores mana upon taking damage. Honorable mentions for runes are Overload and Earth Shield. Overload gives your healing wave a 50% chance to be cast again on the same target for no additional mana cost, no additional threat, and 50% healing. This is a solid rune choice for when AoE healing is not a priority. Earth Shield is an instant cast that often heals the shielded raid member upon taking damage, but it shares the same rune slot as Shamanistic Rage, so you'll have to make a choice. The rest of your kit features decent utility, with the ability to remove poison and disease, interrupt casts with Earth Shock, and of course, totems. While you'll constantly use Strength of Earth and Healing Stream totems, the truth is that most of your other totems can be ignored. Tremor Totem can dispel fear on certain BFD encounters, Frost Resistance Totem can help, and Fire Totems do provide a little damage, but we'll focus more on totems in Phase 2. There you have it, the Season of Discovery Phase 1 Healer Breakdown. We hope this video was helpful and thank you again for watching. Please don't hesitate to ask questions or post feedback in the comments and we'll do our best to reply to each of them. Please consider liking and subscribing as we plan to release more healer content for future phases. Keep in mind that all healers are viable, so play what appeals to you.